All right, we're back for episode 15.
It has been a little bit of a break of 3 weeks, but we're back.
And between that time, Alex was off in Macedonia. How was it?
Macedonia was very interesting. I learned a lot of stuff that maybe Macedonians are not the Eastern Europeans that I thought they are compared to the Baltics, so it's very different. However, I liked they have amazing food, amazing nature. They're a little bit of alcoholics, so they drink a lot of wine. But I mean, can you blame them when it's such a nice red wine and it's so cheap? And it's very cheap country. For nature, totally worth going.
Nice. Like most of Eastern Europe. Check it out. Underrated.
Amen.
Definitely. So today's main topic is going to be sleep, productivity, and mental health. And we're going to go over that later. But first, as we usually do, bits of weird stuff from the internet and some news.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. This was interesting to me, I guess. The UK's King's College London is studying giving homeless people cash without any sort of stipulations on it, and the idea is to reduce poverty using this sort of like universal basic income trials, but this time only on homeless people. So they're already doing a few cost-effective ways to help people, and they're giving them about £450 per person, and they're trying to see what effect it has.
So what did they find?
Yeah, this is part of a whole bunch of studies. Small-scale studies took place in the UK before, such as a scheme by the Joseph Rowntree Foundation in 2012, which helped 12 rough sleepers. People who sleep on the street.
Yeah.
But Sanders said these are believed to be the first large-scale studies, as well as trial with the greater change. KCL researchers are working on 4 other similar studies, and on average, every person we help saves around $35,000 in public spending just by giving them $450 each.
Wow.
So there are sort of repercussions that it helps ease the load. Who knew giving people money ends poverty?
Free money actually works. I think they did something similar in Finland or Sweden.
That was a universal basic income study.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The studies on that, I hear a lot of like mixed reviews on those, but keep in mind it's a very political topic, and there are a lot of people who want to say giving people money doesn't work, or there are a whole lot of people who want to say give everyone money. So it's tough to delineate depending on who you read. You'll get different interpretations of the same data.
Is it like it's very political indeed? Because it's like, oh, people have to be productive for society. They have to be taxpayers. Why some other people don't have to work and we just give them free money? But I understand. I've been in US. They as well said that if they have this free healthcare, or not free, but some sort of ease of healthcare, or Obamacare, I don't remember how it's called, that then they see that there's a decrease pressure on the health system, educational system, and so on. So it was proven as well in the US. But of course, you have all these people who are completely against, as you said, universal income or just giving away free money.
Yeah, it really varies culturally. And in the US, there's a lot of just this idea that how dare people receive something for free,
Capitalism is very strong.
It's a very, and the mentality is also just obsessed with, you are in the situation you're in because of your own actions. Why should I help you? There's a real sort of mentality about that. And I'm just like, you don't understand what the economy actually is then, because all these billionaires always cut down like social spending. That's the first thing that usually goes. And they always argue against a universal healthcare and things like that. And you're like, well, if you guys all sell useless products usually, people will have more money to spend on your useless products if they're not busy dying on the street.
Yeah, this is what it's like. Oh, we should fund innovation. How far can innovation go? Do we have to not give away free money to companies or startups to stimulate economy? But maybe it's not about building. It's about securing what you already have. And if everyone in your population is struggling, you don't want to help them. That actually, maybe it doesn't save as much money.
Yeah. This is also the study I was talking about by the King's College London. they estimate that this will also decrease homelessness and crime from the perspective of prison re-entrance.
Mhm.
So recidivism is a huge issue. But most people who leave prison end up homeless because they have to restart their life from scratch, pretty much almost.
Like, oh, you have programs. You can sign up to any program that is going to help, but not free money.
But yeah, the reoffending rate in England and Wales was 33%. So
Well,
that's the amount of prisoners. 1/3 of them just end up back in prison after being homeless.
yeah, because they have no money. They have to come back to the old ways of, getting money, stealing.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's that for my first piece of news.
Starting dark.
Not really dark. I find that was slightly hopeful.
It is hopeful, but also a little bit of a heavy topic. Well,
I like problems being solved.
fair. Oh my god, I found this amazing post on Reddit. Obviously, Trump won.
Oh yeah.
And I just found this. This is a little bit dark and depressing, but I really like the way someone wrote this, and I'm just gonna read it through. So it's called "The Shift in America's Political Landscape and Global Impact." Some Redditor. I was just going through Reddit because, of course, there's 3,000% increase in search queries on Google, say how to move to Canada, how to leave America, do they give like visas in Turkey? So people just really want to flee, or Mexico as well. So this guy wrote, Donald Trump has won, making the end of American liberal democracy era and start of America's Christo-fascist era, bringing with an extremist, vengeful, totalitarian oligarchy, enacting a full surveillance state, nationwide abortion ban, mass deportation, legal and undocumented immigrants, the criminalization of LGBTQ, and essentially all the transgender identities, a fully militarized police force with total immunity, all the expense of affordable education, healthcare, welfare, social security, workers' rights, civil liberties, privacy, voting access, and the freedom of the press. Ukraine is gone, Palestine is gone, Taiwan is gone. Poisonous microplastics are all over in the air, water, and food. Airlines are deregulated, vaccinations are defunded, our power grids fail. Our forests auction off, underwater coastal cities, 1.2 billion climate refugees, wage stagnation, union busting, legalization of racism in the housing and employment, ultranationalist, I'm almost done, creationalists of revisionist, federally mandated schools curriculum, criminalization of homelessness and poverty to create a prison slave population for forced labor, social media, and financial surveillance, protesters labeled as domestic terrorists in a massive inflationary economic hot run, minting a dozen lucky trillionaires, ending in 10x depression. A new American dream is no longer freedom, but survival. And that is just 2025.
Yeah, but I just tend to think that everyone thinks these are the exact problems they're bringing him in to solve, and the previous administration didn't do much.
Yeah,
so they get what they voted for. If you either vote like liberal or conservative, you're gonna get a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah, it's just for show. It's people just need a hope, and I think more than 50% found a hope in something that resonates with them. But it was just very interesting because he's like bash all the political shifts, human rights, social welfare, global impact, environmental, of course, health issues, which what you just read as well blends very well into that, economic consequences, educational, social control, cultural and physiological impact, and basically the project 2025, they're like, that's it, like this whole momentum into 2025 when he is gonna be he will get into office, that's gonna really screw up everything. But I think it happens every time. When last time as well, I think when Biden won, they had the same thing, like a bunch of increases, like how to move to Canada, search queries, a bunch of marketing campaigns about, oh, we have to get Trump back into office, or he's the real president. So it was just it's always double-sided. It's like two sides of the medal. But I really like this because it was very, very quick into like, hey, this is all that is going to happen. Goodbye, America. The American dream is dead.
It's all going to happen if he sticks to his promises. But at the same time, most Americans with them, it's like, oh, he doesn't mean it. He means these parts that I like, but he doesn't mean those parts that I don't like. It's like weird cult mentality around the guy.
Yeah, it's always black or white in US, right? It's the whole
Not even black or white. I'd call this just delusion. This was more like them saying, "Oh, I really know." Oh, he only says that sort of very provocative stuff because he doesn't mean it. I mean, he means it. He definitely means it, but you just want like your own needs looked after rather than all the people he's going to mess over. Like, you don't care about what happens to Haitians. You don't care about what happens to illegal immigrants. You don't care about what happens to women. Just say that.
yeah.
Instead of doing this whole, he's actually a really nice person.
I've seen somewhere from the 90s they were taking an interview as well with Trump, and they asked him if he would ever become a president. He said, "No way." He's like, "No way, I would like to do that." He's like, "These people are scummy. These people," like, so he was like bashing the political system back in the 90s, and now look, 35 years later, he's like, "Well, hello again."
I was having this discussion with a bunch of co-workers yesterday. One of whom is American, a few were like Latin American. So it boggles my mind. Look, I'm specifically very, very inclined to read the news and read like all these things, but I also like look into what somebody's actually proposing politically. That's just how I like to register these things. And there's such a deep misunderstanding even among people who are very educated, like my coworkers, who are like, well, they voted for the economy, they voted for this, they voted for that. And I'm like, again, name a policy, please. And nobody can really name what he's going to do, but it's just vibes based, which is like, oh, he's a businessman, so he'll be good for the economy. That's not how that works. That's not how that works.
That was the biggest argument, I think, last time he was elected. Well, he's a businessman. He's going to run a country like a business. Yeah, this will fire everyone who's underperforming. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, but that's also like back in the days when generals used to be the main statesmen in Europe. They used to say, oh, he's going to run the country like an army. You don't want that.
No, please.
Do you like your job? You want your CEO to be running the country?
Can you hear me? What was that movie? Where it's like there was like this some sort of captain or admiral just going back and forwards. It's not Forrest Gump, right?
No. You're thinking of Patton?
Maybe, yeah. When he's like, "Can you hear me?" and he's like screaming in everyone's face. No, I wouldn't want to live in a totalitarian regime.
You're thinking of Full Metal Jacket.
Probably. I don't remember. I just remember there's like a meme going around as well about that.
Yeah. But again, we were having this conversation with my coworkers, and they're like, oh, he might be good for the economy, but I don't like him as a person. I'm like, if you don't like him as a person, that's valid. But I'm also like, don't think he's going to be particularly good for the economy either. The man doesn't know how tariffs work. He was talking about like, oh, we're going to put tariffs on foreign imports. And I'm like, you tried that last time. It led to record inflation. Like he put steel tariffs on Chinese goods and all this sort of stuff. Steel tariffs and tariffs on Chinese goods, I should rather say. And the economy was not exactly soaring because policies take effect a few years, to show their true effects a few years after, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So by that time, he was already voted out, and there was the pandemic and all this stuff. But he was basically trying this mercantilist economic approach. And what ended up happening was prices of goods really soared. Like, if you're talking about the Biden inflation as well, some of that is attributed to Donald Trump's protectionist policies. And also, you don't manufacture anything in America anymore. The only way tariffs work is if you have a local substitute, because a tariff ultimately becomes a tax on the people living in the country, not the companies bringing goods in from outside.
Yeah, because they just say, oh, we're going to double the price. But that's what the European Union does as well quite often. They're like, oh, we're going to tax or double tax any kind of electric vehicle or electric scooters import from China. Yeah, if China can produce it faster, cheaper, and, you know, people have the product that they really need, hello capitalism. But the European Union, who has a parliament, has like hundreds of people sitting there, and they still make this like super weird decision of, well, Germany was also actually a very big part in this case for the battery import.
Yeah.
It's like the European Union doesn't have the industry, doesn't have the capacity, doesn't want to pay the living wages, and they're like, you know what? We don't have the industry or anything, like no infrastructure, but we're still gonna double tax import on some things that people actually need and want to use.
But even that's variable, because what happens is Chinese manufacturing dominated Europe because, for example, solar panels and Korean solar batteries,
Mm-hmm.
they became really popular because Britain, for example, put a 0% VAT on them.
Netherlands as well.
Netherlands as well, yeah. And you can get these goods so much more cheaper and faster from China. So if you want to meet your sustainability standards, they found a market.
Yes, and they still do not like, and they still, it feels that they are kind of controversial or, have double standards. We're like, oh, we have to continue improving our local economies, but they do not, they stimulate it with money for the industry that is still underpaid, for workers who are underpaid, even the European Union. And I was like, oh, maybe we can move this because the European Union, we're going to move this to to Romania or something, or to Bulgaria where, salaries are lower. However, it's not possible. They don't have the skill sets, right? They don't have maybe the facilities. They don't have they don't have anything. Well, we're going to start building it. Yeah, see you in 20 years. I need this product now. And now, as you said, meeting the sustainability, all these quotas. And for pulp, like for me, the batteries one was very cool because, well, it's going to take 20 more years to set it up and train the people and integrate this in the whole system. But China already did this. Why you double tax it?
China was on it way before, while most of Europe and the US were still dealing with their oil lobbies, who wanted increased amount of petroleum and were actively holding back sustainable resources. And now that people want it, they end up getting it from China.
Yeah.
Because it's much cheaper.
Talking about China, I have two pieces of news from China, but these are more funny. So Chinese girls want to sue mirror companies and boycott clothes stores.
Mirror companies?
Mirror companies. So Chinese women are becoming increasingly vocal about the magic mirrors found in some clothing stores. Some of the bloggers, they share their experience in noticing how their legs seem to change shape when stepping into the dressing room and where the mirrors are. In another instance, a woman bought a dress after seeing how flattering it looked in the store while she was putting it on. However, when she tried it on at home, she felt it made her look fat and short, completely different from how it appeared in the store. And this basically escalated on TikTok or Chinese social media. The phenomenon doesn't stop the clothing stores. Also, they saw that bakeries are reported to use these mirrors as well. One customer joked that every time she saw herself in the bakery's mirror, she thought, oh, I look very slim and pretty, convincing herself that she has a little bit more room for more pastries, despite knowing that the mirror is deceptive. She admitted that she couldn't resist returning just to admire her reflection in the bakery. They also said that some mirrors have this inbuilt beauty filters, enhancing the skin tone, the way they appear, that the skin is more smooth, and many people have shared their enthusiastically purchased items after, while seeing the reflection at home. They only regret their decision once they saw the real appearance at home. The same thing happens in hair salons apparently across China. So they put these like digital mirrors where they basically have camera and then they will reflect back and they amend you right away. So they put a filter in a hair salon. So it basically, what was it? One blogger questions why no one is suing these mirror companies. So a sentiment echoed by others who share their discomfort and experience, and many admitted that they have the ugliest barber shop, with some choosing to avoid the reflection altogether by starting their phone, just looking at their phones instead. So basically, this is a whole boycotts, and they're trying to, stimulate this growing discussion about mirrors and suing mirror companies.
I can't imagine how those mirrors work.
I think I've seen somewhere during ad nights maybe a few years ago when you go to the mirror and there's like a filter pops right in the mirror. So it's like a screen behind and a camera. That's it.
Huh.
But you cannot distinguish it because it's like so well made. So you don't know.
And it's got some of those Facetune filters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you're like looking much more skinny. You're looking much more, toned.
I always had the suspicion about like the cameras in laptops when you're on like a call or something.
Yeah, right away.
Very different.
Yes, and because I have another camera at home as well, so not the laptop, but the normal one. there I'm pale as hell all the time. And then I look at my camera, I'm like, oh, I'm very toned actually. But then, yeah, my other camera doesn't lie. So that was a very funny kind of discussion that I found, that the Chinese girls wants to sue mere companies.
All right, what else?
The other one, the last funny piece of news is Chinese math app became a meme to troll young kids.
I read about this. Yeah,
Yeah, so Chinese college students, they're basically using this app that is trending right now in the stores, and they're beating kids in math. So there's a app, it's called Douye Bang, so meaning homework help. Is a Chinese platform originally designed to help elementary school students practice their math skills. Recently, tons of college students have joined the platform for a sole purpose of outcompeting little kids. College students are going viral for posting videos of their gameplay.
No, apparently it's really addictive. That's another reason.
Yeah, and there's like, oh, I'm using it to release stress, and some of them actually build like algorithms to basically beat the game, because apparently it's like matchmaking. So you say how old you are or something. So they were like a very bad matchmaking system. So they would match like a kid
Lower age to
yeah, to like a university student, and it was like so quick. So basically, while some think that this is very healthy competition for the little kids, at least that's what the students think, others say that this is terrible for children's confidence.
apparently all these university students completely destroyed the fields for it. Making all their the collected statistics go haywire as well.
Yeah,
because some of them were playing as little kids.
Yeah, well, so super funny because it's like trolling young kids. University students trolling young kids in China.
Well, they got to learn somehow.
Yeah. So you're on the side where it's like, oh, this is healthy competition.
They'll never do it. They'll think they're bad at math and try harder.
Yeah, yeah. Or kill the whole confidence of the whole school kids.
I mean, it should happen early. Everyone gets their confidence killed.
What else do you have?
You know about the exodus from like Twitter or X, as we're calling it?
No.
But like a huge amount of people were leaving.
Yeah, a long time ago. The companies and the app platforms.
Yeah, and we don't know how many, because X doesn't have reliable information anymore because so much of it is botted and so on.
Yeah.
And generally, they're like hundreds of accounts that are said to be still active, even though they're not. A lot of people were running off to like Blue Sky, and Blue Sky was growing by like at 1.1 million users a day.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it works a lot like Twitter. Have you ever used it?
No.
Okay, it works a lot like Twitter, with a bit of Reddit in there, because you have feeds with very specific topics as well. So it's kind of mixing and matching the best of both.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons people are using it so much is there's like very little bot activity, at least not automated bots. There are still like troll bots, but they're very manual, for example. And one of the reasons they're also using it is there's no algorithm. Like it mostly shows you in order of what was posted chronologically and from the people you're subscribed to only.
So that's like Reddit, right? So you filter by community, by hot posts, most comments, most liked, most controversial in the last week, month, day, hour. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of that in there, but with fewer filtering options than Reddit. But generally, a lot of like the ex-Twitter power users, they all moved there. And this sort of started a movement where people were like, we don't want it to become like Twitter, so we're gonna block all of the people we thought were annoying over there as soon as they join. So a lot of people that were sort of the controversy seekers and blah blah blah, they would instantly get blocked. And this started a huge discussion about, is this going to become an echo chamber? Is it like, shouldn't you want people who, even if they annoy you a lot? And, is there something wrong? Because on Blue Sky, what you can do is you can create a list and press block all. So people can distribute these lists, and that happens quite a bit.
Well, it's like censor again, right? So Twitter, the whole premise is like, oh, you can say anything you want. It's not going to be censored and so on. The main thing, I agree, it's just botted, very botted. And on Reddit, you have moderators as well that block, I understand, like spam, some sort of, forbidden content, not safe for work. If it's the discussion outside the community guidelines and so on, no one reads the guidelines anyway. Yeah. But you still have moderators that do that.
For me, over here, there's no moderators. So you have to moderate your own list by blocking and muting people. So I find it perfectly fine to do that, but all of these really annoying columnists from like the New York Times or from wherever else used to come in and be like, I'm not getting much engagement. This is because this place is an echo chamber. Why don't people like me? They should be forced to read my things.
Just so salty.
Salty and like writing all these big think pieces about this and this, and I'm like, I mean, there's two ways to look at it. Do you worry about the community there? Because that's the fair argument. But if you're saying it'll be unsuccessful, then why do you care? Let it fall apart.
Just don't use it.
Don't use it. Let it fall apart if you think this is actually a bad thing for them.
Go back on Twitter. Get your bots GPT commenting on your posts.
Pay $8 a month and then say, "Oh, look at me, I'm so popular."
Yes. Oh my God. I think Instagram actually popped out not so long ago this week, and it said, "Hey, you have been promoted or given access to creator program. Please pay 15 euros to be a creator." I'm like, why would I do that? Why do I want to be a creator? Why did you decide to have to be a creator? So there's something.
No, one of the reasons Threads, when they were boasting about how many users they got, one of the reasons they got those users was because they automatically signed up everybody with an Instagram profile for Threads.
Yeah.
Without any permission, without any consent.
There's no ads yet on Threads, but I heard from actually a rep, a Facebook rep, that's like, oh, it's not yet. So like, just gonna put ads there as well. So you're gonna have another placement where you can promote your product.
This is kind of a common model right now, where this is like veering a little bit off topic, but still related. Where a lot of where every social media platform usually starts off very heavily with the power users who provide free content. And some of those are like, how do I say this delicately? SW workers, you know? So they make explicit content and they get get the early kick into the platform's user base.
Yeah.
And then they get booted out. This is a huge problem where like there's an entire sector of, this is an entire stream of thought, which is, you usually need those types of workers to get anything to become popular. And one of the theories was that like the reason VR never took off is because nobody can watch porn on it without without it being completely absorbing. Like there's no casual way to watch it.
Yeah.
And so similarly, so every social media platform usually starts off with those people and power users, and then they sort of get booted off for like corporate stuff, paid accounts and bots and these sorts of things. Once they get really popular and can be people find a way to monetize those things.
Right now, also LinkedIn released, I think a few months back, the story format. Man, it's so cringe. It's so cringe. And even sometimes I started seeing also a little bit more explicit content on LinkedIn. Because like I think they just released the stories, and I don't think they were monitoring that much. So I could see memes, I could see 4chan, I could see someone selling something, but then you see this corporate cringe, and then the meme lords are also there, and then you have sometimes I was just checking, what is it? Terrible. I have no idea if anyone uses that.
I just can't imagine. Like LinkedIn is for just looking for jobs, man.
Yes.
Any other purpose you use it for, you're a freak.
I had someone messages me, "Hey Alex, we have a perfect position for you." I'm like, "Cool. Is it in English?" And they're like, "Yeah, no, but your account says you speak Dutch." I'm like, "No, it doesn't." He's like, "Yes, it does." I'm like, "Where?" And I sent a screenshot where it doesn't. He's like, "Well, anyway, thank you for your attention." I'm like, "You guys are sloppy, lazy asses. Like, you didn't even try."
Just last week, I got a call from a company, and I went to like a networking event 2 years ago at this point. And they called me up and they started hearing me talk. And I'm like, "Hi, what's this about?" And they're like, "You went to this event a long time ago." I'm like, "Yeah, I have a job now." And then they go like, "Oh, do you speak Dutch?" I'm like, "Is it on my CV that I speak Dutch?" They're like, "No, I guess not." Then I don't.
Yes, and man, sometimes these recruiters, they make like a million calls a day, so they just they don't care.
Also could have been an email.
Amen.
All right. Like literally, who calls anyone anymore? Just send me Just send me an email. It's on my CV. Not that I think they read it.
No, the ChatGPT scanned it. And he had somewhere say, please call me because I'm very good.
You can always enter the Python code inside,
Yes, yes,
fast candidate.
yes.
Uh,
You have any other pieces of news?
I do. And one of these was that in the last few months of the Biden regime, they actually made a good change.
What was it?
I know. Clap, please. Which is U.S. airlines are now required to give refunds.
Hey.
We've had that in Europe for a long time, but hey, better late than never.
Yeah, once your plane started falling apart in midair, you have to do something.
Yeah. So it's an automatic refund rule, and it goes into full effect. This was passed by Secretary of Transport Pete Buttigieg. Passengers deserve to get their money back when an airline owes them without headaches or haggling. Was the entire concept of this, and it's pretty easy in Europe. But here's the funny thing: what you guys might see if you're listening in America, which is you're gonna get these companies that'll say, "We'll negotiate for you," and you don't need those. You only need to send an email.
Again and again and again.
In my case, I had to send it once from the when we went to Lithuania, and we were late by like 3 hours.
Uh-huh.
I just had to send one email, and they sent the money back.
Yeah, but these companies is like a new industry as well. I know that by basically customer support in the legal system, they can deny you once, right? So because some people are not as committed, it's like, oh, I want my money back, and the airline says no. And for like 90% of the people, like, oh well, I tried. And the other ones we send like the second email, the money refunds statistics is like, yeah, like almost everyone gets it back.
It's all about how you write the email, man.
Yes, I guess so.
In my case, I went, and Alex is gonna laugh when I tell him this because the Lithuania trip was. I'm not saying anything untrue, but he's gonna laugh at my framing of it.
Say it.
I wrote like, I was late for a work engagement, and it's half of my first day of a 3-day trip. Which is true, but also the work engagement was us just digging around in the US.
Yes, and party. Well, but that worked very well, right?
It worked. You just have to put a little more indignance in it.
Yes.
Get a bit grandiose on them.
Yeah, if it's work related, maybe they take it a little bit more seriously than, oh, I was partying and I missed it.
Yeah. But it was a work engagement. There's no lie there.
No, it was not.
It's just a creative spin on the truth. And my last bit of news is that Micron successfully sued Samsung for $118 million. Because they said it infringed on some of their technologies. Now, yeah.
Tell me, I'm now curious.
So the idea was basically, my uncle, by the way, works at this exact company, Micron in Irvine, California, or used to. I don't know if he still works there, but he's he's an engineer, So, spokesperson for Samsung and Netlist did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the verdict. The jury determined that Samsung's infringement was willful, which could lead the judge increasing the award up to 3 times. And the idea was that their high-performance memory products were copied by Samsung.
Wow.
They developed these microchips and electronics. And Micron is, as you can imagine, a microchip company.
Wow. Well, I mean, I was reading somewhere about monopolies, right? So right now, because TikTok is getting banned somewhere in January, February in US.
I don't know if it'll be a full-on ban because I heard ByteDance are divesting.
They basically said that you have to have like a local database. Then they said, hey, you have to sell it to an American company. They basically said, oh, you're going to be banned, but maybe they can relaunch under a new name. So there are a lot of speculation as well. I mean, you had this like schoolgirls calling their local representatives, and it's like, no, don't ban TikTok.
I want to see it get banned, not because I dislike TikTok or anything, but just because I want I want American people to understand there are consequences for your vote.
Yeah, well, I totally agree. But this was as well about monopolies, how Google has these startup programs. Like, oh, we are sponsoring the startup programs that you can join. And they basically are looking for tech startups. They get into these training programs. They get a little bit of money from Google. And Google says, wow, this innovation is so great. You know what we're going to do? Buy it or suppress it. So they basically sometimes, when the startup is successful and it was funded or helped by Google, Google says, well, we're going to hire your whole team or kind of buy out your whole team. So you're going to be part of Google and going to be working on this amazing startup, but we're going to call it Google whatever. So like how they, basically using that. And in this case, you see Samsung, they basically got a little bit into trouble.
They went a bit far.
Yes.
They are denying the allegations, but they had to do a payout. So at least the judges thought it was close enough.
We don't agree, but here's 118 billion.
Well, yep, million.
Million. I thought you said billion.
No. That would, even for Google, that'd be a bit much.
That would be super fun. If Samsung goes bankrupt because of microchip issue, well, that would be ridiculous. They're like, oh, now we have to brick every Samsung phone. I have a Samsung phone though.
So do I.
Oh, we gotta brick everything. Sorry, it was some other company. It's their fault. Say thanks. But buy this new thing.
No. Oh, well, I guess we should move on to the main topic.
Yes.
Got any definitions for me or something?
I don't this time. However, I was reading this book and I'm almost finished. It's called Why Do We Sleep? And this book is written, let me see. Yeah, it's basically called Why We Sleep.
Does it answer the main question? Because there's a lot of competing theories, right?
There is, but this guy, he used to be a psychiatrist, then psychologist, then he went into researching sleep in general, and he was fascinated by it. So he wrote a book, and he wrote about the importance of sleep, the science of sleep, the consequences, what is like a circadian rhythm, how the sleep and learning is related, and basically the societal impact that it has. So I have like a bullet list of some very highlighted things that I think is super cool. And actually, after reading this book, I bought a new bed, a new mattress, a new pillow, a new everything, just because this guy, he really sold it to me. So for example, sleep is crucial for physical and mental health. Oh, we know that. It influences memory, creativity, immunity, emotional stability. Lack of sleep is linked to serious health conditions like heart disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, and depression. Then the science behind it, they say that people need 7-8 hours of sleep, but women actually need 9 to 10 hours of sleep per night for optimal functioning. They also linked that minor sleep loss impairs cognitive functions and basically discusses how it acts on the reaction times. And chronic deprivation of sleep increases risk of obesity, hormonal imbalances, weakness, immunities, and so on. So it's super cool. And I, for myself, really am now like, I need to make sleep important because it had a lot of tests. I have 4 tests or 4 experiments that they did that basically explain how important it is. So, for example, sleep and memory retention. So, what they did, the experiment was that participants were divided into 2 groups. One group was sleep deprived, so they stayed awake for 24 hours, and the other one was rested. They had a full night's sleep. Both groups were tasked with learning a list of words before they were basically asked to repeat it. So the findings were that the sleep deprived group recalled 40% fewer words than the well-rested group. Also, brain scans show that the hippopotamus, so like the middle of your brain, so hippopotamus. Dude, I was joking about this word. Hippopotamus. So the hippocampus is responsible for forming new memories, was far less active in sleep deprived group, essentially shut down. So the conclusion was that sleep is critical for moving information from short-term memory to long-term memory. And he also explained that people who pull off, like when you're a student, like an all-nighter. So like all-nighters, they're absolutely terrible for retention of memory. So they're okay with short term. So you're like, oh, I learned this, I delivered it, and you forgot it.
On that note, I read somewhere a while back, this is during like my university years, so I'm sorry if I don't remember the research or study, but you should study for a test a day before the final day that you can study for it, because in the morning you'll have much better retention, and if you build on that retention, then you'll be really good. So 2 days before, start studying.
they have as well an experiment on that with numbers even. So the experiment was participants were split into two groups again. So they had a nap group that took 90-minute nap before a learning task, and non-nap group. So they remained awake before for the same task. Both groups were completed a tests requiring them to memorize series of facts. So findings were the nap group performed significantly better, learning about 20% more material than a no-nap group. That's insane. So the conclusion that sleep not only consolidates existing memories, but also resets the brain, enhancing its capacity to absorb new information. 20%. Just because you napped. That's for me, that was crazy. So I'm like, okay, before any important decision, I need to take a nap. Or if you need to, sometimes you work for a long day, you're like, okay, nothing sticks anymore. Apparently a 90-minute nap helps.
Yeah.
The third part was sleep and physical performance. This was very cool as well. So the experiment was that they monitor basketball players over several weeks. So the athletes were asked to extend their sleep duration to 10 hours per night for a few weeks compared to the usual schedule. So some were just normal, sleeping like 7, 8. So findings were reaction time improved by 8%, sprint time improved by 5%, free throw accuracy increased by 9%. So athletes who reported improved mood, reduced fatigue, and enhanced overall performance. So another experiment that they did on reaction time, that sleep-deprived participants were tested for reaction times using simple button like press tasks.
Yeah.
And after one night of no sleep, reaction times were 300% slower, with significantly more errors compared to the well-rested group. So therefore, sleep directly impacts motor skills, reaction speed, endurance, and making essential peak athletic performance. So if you are like a driver somewhere, I don't know, if you drive like an ambulance car, you have to be well rested because you will just be like reckless and you will not have a fast reaction, and maybe you'll get into like an accident.
Depends on the country, but sometimes there's like two ambulance people and they take turns.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gurney. They're trying to get naps in between.
Yeah, but this is 300% slower. And for me, so you have better memory, long-term memory, 20% increase. Sleep-deprived group had 40% fewer words that they can remember as well. And the last study that they did, which is also pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the experiment was participants were shown emotionally charged images, like neutral images or like this as a snake, before sleeping, and brain activity was measured during sleep. And they also had this, I think it was 10 pictures that they were showing people. So two groups, sleep deprived, not sleep deprived. They show you 10 emotions from like angry to happy and everything in between. And then the sleep deprived group, they would recognize only like 3 emotions. So like anger, happiness, and somewhere in between they would guess one. Now the people who slept well, they would recognize like 7 or 8 out of 10 emotions. So that's why sometimes when it's like, oh, he's grumpy, he did not sleep enough. So that's literally means that your brain, so your frontal lobe where you make logical decisions because you're tired, you cannot make logical decisions in this spectrum of emotions. So you fall back into what? Your,
very sort of, I think some of that might also just be, if you're sleepy, you're going to project your emotions onto other people.
Maybe that's something else, but in this case, they said that you fall back into your primal response, which is happy or angry, but happy, sad, angry, because you cannot logically think because you're tired. So your
lizard brains.
Yeah, hippopotamus. So hippocampus thingy basically cannot, logically think. So it falls back into anger, happiness, like these edge case scenarios.
Yeah.
So brain scans show that enhanced activity in the amygdala, the brain emotional center, during rapid eye movement sleep. So basically, rapid eye movement sleep plays a crucial role in processing emotions, helping us make sense of our experiences and reducing emotional volatility.
Yeah. You briefly touched on napping. Are you familiar with the Japanese word inamuri?
Is it like you have to nap during like a meeting or something? I've seen some Japanese parliaments where like old dudes napping.
I don't know if it's during a meeting, but the direct translation of the word is I am present while sleeping.
Physically present, mentally somewhere else.
Yeah. So what happens is this is a part of the work culture. which is it's fine as you could take a nap as long as you've finished your as long as you'll be able to finish your day's work, and you could just nod off a little bit as long as it's not disruptive as well. So it's a scheduled work time, and Japan generally has a very intense work culture. Like this is one of the things that's known about it. But there's little bits of leniencies that they've incorporated in recent years, and this is one of them. So people just kind of take naps at their desk or something.
Yeah, if it's also allowed. Did we speak before, I think, in one of the podcasts that the Netherlands is the least working country, and Denmark, I think, is like 32 and 34 hours a week on average or something like that. But then still, like, you have to grind. I feel that this cultural and social impact where, like, in modern society, it undervalues sleep and kind of glorifies overworking. So, like, oh, I'm going to be sitting in this office for 10 hours. I'm going to sleep for 2, shit for 1.
Yeah.
And then here you go. I was in the office, and then it basically sees that you're actually productive, but you're actually very unhealthy because it costs your health.
So Japan is one of those countries, and studies have shown they manage to sleep only 6 hours and 35 minutes every night on average. And that's the average. So some people getting way less sleep, and this became adopted as a specific counter to that. And while this sounds great, and you might be like, I'm moving to Japan just so I can nap at work. There are real etiquette rules, you know? So the code of conduct is like, as a newbie at the company, you cannot do this.
Oh, you're too young. You're a junior. Juniors do not sleep at work. Seniors do sleep at work.
Yep. If you rank high on the social ladder, you're allowed to do this as much as you want.
So you can come to office, just take a nap and go home? As long as your work is done?
I guess so. But it's not about sleeping, you know, it's about being present and not falling into a deep slumber. So depending on what type of sleeper you are, this might be hell for you.
I'm terrible. If I fall asleep, like if you wake me up, I'm gonna ruin your life. So I understand. But there was actually, it said 6 hours of sleep. The author's name is Matthew Walker of the book.
Yeah.
He also described that they put a group of people to for 11 days to sleep 6 hours. And then they measured their like cognitive abilities, and they said it is equivalent of someone who is drunk, who's like 1.5 liters of beer in. So someone who is like 0.6 alcohol. So you sleep for 6 hours for 11 days, and then your condition is drunk. And when they started asking people who are sleeping well, not sleeping well, if they haven't slept tonight, how do you feel? Are you in terms of like, are you sleepy? Are you, well rested?
And their answer was, what's wrong with you?
But 90% said that they feel okay. So 90% of the people who are asked if they're sleep deprived, even when they work, like let's say 4, 6, 8, 10 hours, they all said, I'm fine. But when it comes to testing, memory loss, physical ability loss, reaction time loss, everything.
So there's like subconscious cognitive declines there.
Yes. So no one sees it as, being sleep deprived, but when they are. So even if you're sleep deprived, that's the conclusion, that you will never know unless, you get put to a test.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. I found something about shift workers on rotating schedules.
Oh, interesting.
And the sort of changes that it causes. So if you're doing shift work, your constant changes in circadian rhythms will increase the odds of colorectal cancer. And this is usually tied to like bad lifestyle factors, and sleep is one of them. So it's about as bad as eating really bad junk food for your colon, And the other thing is the people with rotating schedules, they eat more and snack more on high calorie foods just to compensate for the lack of sleep.
Yeah, that's probably your body telling you, it's like, hey, I need energy.
Yeah. And if you can't, if you're forcing yourself to stay awake, it's going to try to do it in other ways. I mean, that's the theory, at least.
There was a part of circadian rhythm. I wrote a few notes as well, that our sleep is regulated by circadian rhythm, a 24-hour internal clock that influences by light and darkness. And they basically did a few tests as well. What they did, they put a bunch of scientists into a cave where there's no light, no clock, no watch,
Yeah.
and they left them for like 2 or 3 weeks, and they said, okay, let's see how your circadian rhythm is going to change. But what happened actually, it was deviating like 2 hours, I think, but people had like an internal rhythm, still that's dictated when they have to go to bed when they feel tired. Also, there was one guy, I don't remember, like a scientist, back in the days, he also had a theory of circadian rhythm that's like, oh, you wake up with the sun, go to bed with darkness. Yeah, imagine that in Scandinavian countries where, sun goes up at 10 a.m. and goes down at 2 p.m., or like there's always sun 24 hours a day for like a few weeks, or it's always darkness. So it really messes it up. So what this guy did, he put a flower that had to bloom into a dark box, like no sun, no light, no nothing. He would look through like a small hole to see if the flower is opening up, if it's like blooming during the day, but the flower doesn't see the sun, but it would still bloom during the day hours. It would go to sleep during, nighttime, even without sun. So this is a little bit insane. And they also said that, the other part is melatonin, which is basically your sleep hormone. So that signals the body to prepare for rest. And there's some things that can help you to do that.
For those who don't know, melatonin is a hormone that promotes sleep-wake cycles, and its production is stimulated in response to darkness, peaking around midnight to 3 a.m., and light stops melatonin production. Not melanin.
Hippopotamus. Yes, and a lot of, as well, places at work, what they do actually, they put very, very bright light, especially now when it's, almost December, it's getting dark very soon. A lot of companies in the office, they use very specific artificial lighting and screens, also because you're working behind screen, that disrupts your natural sleep pattern. That's why you have these orange screens, and eye protection. On my phone, every evening at 8 p.m. on my laptop, it just turns on so I can like rest more even if I'm still behind screen.
One of the things related to both the day and night based circadian rhythm is also the food based circadian rhythm. A lot of researchers are talking about circadian fasting as a way to reset your sleep cycle.
What is it?
So circadian fasting generally refers to narrowing the eating window to daytime hours light phase and fasting during the night in the dark phase. Since circadian rhythms are divided into two 12-hour windows, the minimum fast is a 12-hour fast overnight, but the fast can extend to 16 hours if desired. This allows for an 8 to 12-hour eating window, usually commencing at the morning meal and ending in the evening. And you can you can fix your sleep cycle by changing what times you eat. You can sort of trick the body.
You're hungry, go to bed.
Yeah. No, not even you're hungry, go to bed. Shorten the time between your meals.
It's also healthy, apparently, for your guts.
Apparently. The healthiest thing for your gut, by the way, is to have small amounts of food, but dispersed across multiple meals.
Yeah, I guess it depends on your goal, because a lot of gym bros, they also say, hey, working out while fasting, like while fasted when you just wake up, because you can use your body fat for energy, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, like, because it was food related, you just have to eat less and then you can lose weight. But then when it comes to gut health, indeed, we would just eat whatever once a day when we catch something, I don't know, a million years ago. And then you would go to bed because like when was the working day done back in the days? Well, sun goes down, I did my part, I'll continue tomorrow, go to bed. But now again, we have these weird schedules, or someone's like, oh, it's a flexible working schedule. Yeah, man. Then can I move to Thailand somewhere and then just work like while you guys are in darkness? I have a few tips as well for like what to do for better sleep. So it's stick to a consistent schedule. And this also actually go to bed, wake up at the same time daily on the weekend, stabilize your circadian rhythm. I wanted to say something about like having this consistent schedule. Oh yeah, because there's a myth and people say, I'm going to catch up on sleep during weekend. Apparently, this is a myth. It doesn't exist. Catching up on sleep.
That's interesting because the study that I was reading, they do make that suggestion, make enough time for sleep on days off. And I want to hear why that's wrong.
Yes. So apparently in his book, he describes that You just have to sleep from like 7 to 9 hours, and then you get your rests. Catching up on sleep is actually gonna screw up your rhythm you're sleeping with, because you're gonna be more rested. Therefore, you're gonna go to bed later because you will have more energy as well. Also, or again forgot about, oh yeah, catching up on sleep. So what happens when you are sleep deprived? You're basically ruining your body. Like, you are aging, your organs are aging, your brain needs rest. When you don't give it rest, it basically breaks down faster. Like I don't know, like any kind of machine. I think he compared it to like a vehicle. So
Yeah.
if you don't oil it, if you don't maintain it, you don't give it food, you don't give it rest, it's gonna start rotting from the inside, and it's gonna start underperforming. So, and also you're aging faster. So when you're saying, you know what, yesterday I slept 6 hours, so I aged more, I'm gonna do sleep 10, and then my aging is gonna reverse. That's not true. You're just gonna be actually slowing down the process of aging, and your neural connections and stuff like that will just start breaking up slower. And so sleep, or consistently getting enough sleep, is much more important than catching up, because catching up is not gonna make you younger suddenly. You're just gonna slow down the process of fatigue.
It's like sleep debt is the one kind of thing you can't pay back.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it said. It's like sleep debt is impossible to pay back.
Yeah. We'd like to also emphasize neither of us are scientists. Just reading books and studies.
It's for all the haters on TikTok and YouTube who's like, you guys have no idea what you're talking about. This is not true. You should go read. Where's the reference? I always laughed at those people who were like, trolls, but now because we're getting the same comments, I'm like,
I try to provide a reference list.
So we should do that somewhere.
Like, I have all my references in a doc, actually. So if we could, we should put that in the description.
Probably,
It's gonna be down there this time, okay?
So for all the haters. Okay, so I will have one more. So it's, as you said, mind your diet. So avoid heavy meals, caffeine, and alcohol. Also, they basically said like, oh, I have a beer and I'm gonna sleep better, right? So apparently, it's not about how much sleep then you get, but what's the quality of sleep. Because if you have coffee in somewhere closer to an evening, I don't know, like at 6 p.m., the life cycle of caffeine is around 6 hours. And then the quality of sleep is going to highly decrease. So even if you sleep 8 hours or 10 hours, the quality of that sleep is going to be much lower. The same when it comes to alcohol. Alcohol also screws up your brain waves, and your brain waves do not recover as good as they would without being affected by the drugs or that. So caffeine also can affect sleep if consumed 6 hours before bedtime.
I'm somebody who doesn't drink any coffee, and I'm generally a morning person. Like, I wake up perfectly fine.
I need a coffee.
I know, but my theory has always been, if I start drinking coffee, that'll end. I'll like become a lazy waker.
I love coffee in bed.
I don't know if it's a chicken or the egg kind of situation, maybe I wake up nicely because I don't do coffee, but then I also think maybe some people they need coffee because they already have they're not morning people.
Yeah, I'm not a morning person.
I don't know which way. Does it start that way or
I'm not a morning person. Yeah, I think so, because I go to bed very late, and then in the morning, like, oh, I need to be productive. Like, it's not really early morning, but I feel like I need this extra concentration. Like half an hour before doing anything, I need a coffee. I just need to sit down, look at the wall, and just get a coffee, and that really helps me. As well, there is another one, which is physical activity promotes better sleep. But avoid intense workouts close to bedtime. So it's just very good to tire yourself out a little bit. And physical activity, basically promotes better quality sleep, because your body is going to be more relaxed. As you're sleeping, you go through rapid eye movements and non-rapid eye movement sleep. So basically light sleep and deep sleep. And during light sleep, you are promoting the creativity and the memory. And during deep sleep, it's physical recovery. And they basically said, is it better? So basically, if someone goes to bed like at midnight and sleeps until 8 in the morning, they said, what is better, to sleep the first 4 hours or the latest 4 hours? And they discovered that you should sleep the first 4 hours. Why? Because that promotes better memory than the other part, because your physical physical rest starts really kicking in on the 6th hour of sleep.
Yeah.
So if you sleep 8, the first 6 is for your brain and mental cognitive capacity, and then the other 2 are more focused on the physical rest. So if you want to again perform very well, that's why in the basketball players they slept for 10 hours and napped for 90 minutes.
Huh.
So if you want to perform well, you have to do that. And I think they also measured it. It was like 20% physical ability increase. So they'd say weightlifting or something like that. So they could lift like 20% more.
Huh.
So if you want to be physically active, if you need to, I don't know, you're moving tomorrow, you need to move some boxes. So your fatigue kicks in later. You have to sleep more than 8 hours.
Yeah, I mean, most people try to get like 8 hours was the
Standard.
perfect minimum, right?
Yes.
Huh.
So 8 is exactly how much you need based on the guy.
I mean, I think back to my mom. She always like, all you need is 6 hours of sleep.
Not true.
No, trust me, she's just a workaholic.
Yes, but then she could be so much more productive if she would sleep 9 hours, because women need 9 to 10 hours.
I can't imagine her being more productive. That's kind of the maybe it's good that she gets less sleep.
Scientifically proven, man. You get
but I mean, like, I don't think she should work more.
Yeah, fair.
Either way. So, any other points to touch on?
Nope, that was pretty much it. So we went through the key insights. Why is it important? The science, the consequences. We have a few tips that we went through and some experiments that I really like because it really had like numbers behind it, say the percentage increase and decrease.
So yeah, my last tip is always just like, if you have those variable shifts that keep changing, try not to put them on consecutive days. Try to get some sleep in between them, at least, or schedule the shifts in such a way that one allows you to get a lot of sleep, and then before the next one.
Yeah, my recommendation is go read the book by Matthew Walker, Why We Sleep, because it really changed the way I sleep. Even like I really, after reading, not even finished reading this book, I'm like, I need a new bed, I need a new mattress, I need a new pillow, I need a new, blankets. And then now I'm done, and man, I'm so happy now going to sleep because I'm excited to go to sleep. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get this amazing rest. And obviously physical activity is also important for me. So I'm like, I have to do this. So invest in a nice mattress and read the book by Matthew Walker, Why We Sleep. Super cool.
All right. That covers it, I guess, right?
Yes.
Episode 15 in the bag?
Yes, episode 15. Well, thank you for all the haters commenting that we are not having references, but now we will.
And it's constructive feedback. We like it.
Yes, thank you very much. That was really, really important to us.
Alex thinks you're haters. I think you're distinguished competition.
So, everyone, have a nice time. Enjoy till next time.
See you.